as well, since
We did.
astrology is one of those things that
Yeah, I know what
it's a
it
bit
is.
out there.
Okay,
Same.
first of all, don't hesitate to go wild with your questions because I've been there. I was literally making fun of with astrology and yoga and like all the other things that I wasn't able to prove with science. And here I am as an astrologer and a spiritual artist who channels art to heal emotions, basically. So any questions are welcomed about it. But Danny, please help me out with the time management and everything. And I'll leave the mic to you first.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. So we have the wonderful Kubra, a very dear friend of mine. And as she said, she's an astrologist and a spiritual artist. And I was definitely one of those naysayers as well. Like, it's like, I don't know so much about it. And then she ended up making my birth chart. And then she read some stuff. And I'm just like, I didn't tell her that. How did she know that? That's not what is happening. It freaked me out. So I was like, it helps me turn how I was thinking of it. That's for sure. But here, I'll let Kubra take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Can you remind me of the time frames a little bit? So how much time do I have so I can be respectful?
So usually we do around 10, 15 minutes, but then there are questions that get involved, so then it can be longer. So it's all of how it works for you and how you feel about it.
Okay, then I won't dive deep into my non-believer story, but I'm gonna give a little bit insights. So, guys, I was a nuclear scientist, and I was working on cancer kind of stuff, pharmaceutical industry. And then back then, when I was a student, I was against all kind of woo-woo things and religions and everything, basically. So I was a rebel, and I used to proud of it, but not anymore. And I remember this sentence, oh, okay, come on, if you sit 1 hour and say, of course your brain will melt out, so you won't have any problems. That's normal. So this was my perspective, okay? And then I had this first episode, and I thought I was paralyzed, but it turned into I just had a fibromyalgia attack. And after that attack, after that episode, I tried everything that science gave me, but didn't work. So I had to look for something else, because when it happens, it happened 3 times to me. And I was at age 19 when it first happened. And it was awful because I have a family history with strokes and paralyzations and everything. Wow. So this is where I started. And after looking for alternative things, I started trying like things like Reiki and this and that. And when I met with astrology, just as Dani said, the lady told me all the deepest wounds or secrets or sentences that I was making in my mind, never told to anyone. And there she was telling me those secrets or those, very personal things about my character or life or everything. So this is what astrology is capable of. It is our user manual, and it gives us how we can benefit from these energies, from this machine, this beautiful, body that we have and soul that we have, because it all has a meaning. So our emotions are basically our golden compass that leads us to our higher purpose, our dream version, our life purpose, whatever you call it. And by using astrology, you can simply understand why you are having that exact emotional pattern or that exact experience that you go through again and again, whatever you call it. And understanding, embracing that things through astrology, through your user manual, it really is a game changer. So how I use it in my business, in my personal life, or in my client's life is basically by reading that chart and understanding what your nature is telling you. I guess many of you are entrepreneurs here, or people who are willing to write their own book. I'm in process of writing my own, I don't know, third or fourth book. Like I write different type of books. So anyway, and what really helps me in this journey is basically understanding why I have that emotional blocks and how I can use them as an inspiration, as a motivation to continue in my journey in a joyful way. Because most of the time, the problem is we feel like the universe is there to teach us a lesson, to make our lives harder, or things like that. But it is not. We're not victims or we're not powerless, but we just need to remember who we are and we need to take our power back. And to be able to do that, what we can do is understanding the message of our moon in our birth charts. So I know I talk a little bit fast, but pardon me for that. But you can, I don't know, you can tell me to slow down or, I don't know, explain things a little bit more. But when you understand your moon is about your emotional life, your motivations, your way of connecting with your mother and Gaia and people in your life. So when you understand it and when you understand how you connect with your mother, which is our mothers are the vehicles that brings our soul into this dimension, basically, because our wombs are working in this way. They're devices that helps us to, teleport our souls from one dimension to another. And once we come here and connect with our mother, it's a special connection, and understanding it through our moon sign really helps that unworthiness wounds to become visible, and so that we can heal those wounds. Because most of the time, if you feel like there is a purpose for you, but if you're not sure what it is, or if you are sure about that purpose but you feel demotivated to go through it, or whatever it is for you, understanding and embracing the message of your moon really helps to reconnect with your self-worth. Because simply, either in psychology or in our neurobiology or in coaching principles or spiritual things, all are telling us the same thing. Our connection with our mothers is sacred. And blessing this sacred connection is simply giving us the way to connect with the life, with our nature, with Gaia in the right way. So, in case that you need some motivation or understand how you want to continue with your writing journey or your entrepreneurship journey, and if you want to do something different, something that aligns with your nature and not sure what it is, understanding the message of your moon is the key. Let me give you an example, if I can call back any. So imagine a kid who felt deeply unloved by the mother when she was or he was a child. This child developed a belief that if of course we're talking about the subconscious beliefs. So this child develops a belief that even my mother didn't love me, so why would other people would love me? And we start trying to give people more and more. Whenever they ask something from us, we try to give those people whatever they ask from us so that we can deserve love, because this is what we learned to get our mother's attention and love, maybe when we were a kid. And most of the time, when I work with a client like that and understand what the moon's message for this person, of course, it doesn't have to change the relationship with the mother, but understanding it is helping that person to take herself out from this victimhood zone. And Of course, each mother would love their, babies. But we can transmit love through our love language. And it is mostly defined by our Venus, for example. So when there is a Venus Capricorn person, they're not open to show their emotions. They connect with people through different, different subjects. If you have a Venus Capricorn mom or Moon Capricorn mom, for example, they will take care of you, but you won't have this touching and hugging feeling. And in today's life, this kind of creates a trouble to connect with people in the emotional level. So, yeah, Danny, mic is yours.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more when you say Venus Capricorn and Venus Moon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, guys, can I show a birth chart to you so it could be easier? Is that okay, Danny? I had one open already as I had a session before. So I'm not going to show my client's chart, but how can I share it? Yeah, I guess it's from here. Yeah, here. So, guys, this is a chart. And it's a birth chart, basically. And when we have a chart like that, we simply, wait, so you can see, we simply can see each zodiac sign and each planets and a fixed star or everything in a chart. So for us, it's important to understand the aspects in between the planets or fixed stars or other elements. So when I say Venus Capricorn, for example, in this chart, I think it is today. No, it's 24th of May. This is an event that we're going to host in May 24th. So with my business partner, we were discussing if this date is good or not through astrology. So you can do things like that. It's crazy. Yeah? So for example, on that date, Venus is in Taurus and Moon is, Moon is in Taurus and Venus is in Aries. So each day, everything that has a start and ending has a birth chart, and depending on the date and place and time, these elements has different zodiac signs, basically. I don't know if that's clear enough.
Yeah, I think that helped a lot. I don't know, how does everyone understand it a little bit better, or do we need it more clarified?
I think it's more of like, I think I need like a whole lesson. I love this stuff. So I'm not a naysayer. and I'm a behavior analyst by
Cool.
The fact that I like it, people get very like, yeah.
I know some automotive companies they hire people according to applicants' birth charts. So it gives an impression about who they are, how they react, what their psyche is like here to learn or express.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's all very interesting.
Well, I think you can probably keep on going. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So after my healing journey from fibromyalgia, now I don't have any symptoms since the time I started studying energy healing. So first I studied Reiki, I became a Reiki master, then I met with Cosmo Energy, and it literally changed my life for good. And since then, I've been practicing it. I think with Cosmo Energy, I met in 2015. So since then, every single day, I'm practicing energy healing. And still, I have a very tough chart, and I had to go through a gaslighting story. I don't know if any of you are familiar with gaslighting. It's a psychological abuse technique. Hope you're not, but Christina, you are. So anyway, I hope it's a cultural, like, just general information you have. But anyway, after having this psychological abuse, I developed a special astrology technique. Back then I was an astrologer. So with this technique, I try to understand why people are not able to navigate their emotional wounds, their emotional turmoils. And where I ended up was basically, it is because we all are valuable, but somehow in the way we disconnected from that self-worth. So each time when we function, when we live from a place of a lack of our self-worth, our original value, we kind of get triggered, and our triggered emotions try to navigate us. So I have a quote: if one day I become a famous person, I want people to quote this, but then one of my friends used it in her book, so I'm very lucky. And I always say that our emotions are our golden compass, and they lead us to our higher potential, as I mentioned in the beginning. So through that birth charts and through that special reading, what we do is simply understanding, for example, why that emotion is showing up in this exact moment or in this exact experience, and what it is telling us. Well, for example, we know we have this general information about anger or anxiety or fear. For example, if we're talking about anger, it's about boundary issues. If we're talking about anxiety, it's about separation, our nature and our life. So they're not aligned. If we're talking about fear, it's about we need to heal ourselves from whatever we are talking about in this very moment, whatever triggered our fear. So to be able to get very specific with these messages, we go through the chart, we understand that message, and then we develop a different perspective so that from the same part we don't get triggered again and again, so we won't be creating emotional patterns. And in writing journey, doing this really helps us, and me specifically. Danny knows the last workbook I published, I had this idea out of the blue, and then it turned into a book in, I don't know, in 15 or 20 days. But Danny, can you take the mic for a sec? Because I noticed that my battery is dying, so I'm gonna plug it in for a sec.
Yeah, sure. So Kubra is really good at being fast with writing her workbooks. I think that one maybe was like 40 to 45 pages long or something. Wasn't it like 40, 45 pages?
Which one? The last one or the one you went through?
Oh, I guess I don't know which one I'm talking about.
Oh, the last one that I wrote in a very short time, it is like 66 pages.
Oh, okay, that's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. So thank you. So for example, I did an experiment with this one, and I used the message of my moon, because for me, the story is most of the time I create projects very fast. I'm very I get super excited about things, about ideas, and I bring them into life very easy because I know how to activate Moon and Venus points where we manifest things. But for me, as I go in between the ideas, I forgot to share those products, this final things that I gave birth to. But anyway, in this experiment that I did, and then it was one of the witnesses because we talk a lot. So as I stayed with joy during this process, it was easy to focus. It was easy to write. It was easy to have this layout or for me, it's really hard to go through that technical publishing things, because I love self-publishing, as I cannot wait for so long when I create something. And when you stick with joy, and with the help of your moon, and sometimes with your Venus, we are talking about as well, it's making it more like, let me put it this way, using your moon and Venus point when you're writing something or when you are creating anything, it makes the journey more joyful, and the end result that you get is more satisfying. So I think I finished my time here. I don't want to hijack your your meeting, but if anything is not so clear, or if there is any questions or anything, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Kubra. Anyone have any questions for her?
Yeah.
Great.
So my question will be related to the continuation, actually. So you mentioned you are finding the triggers, or why people have these particular triggers or something, and then you help them to fix it. How does this process looks like? Is it something more of a like similar to visit of the therapist, or something completely different? I'm curious about that process.
Yeah, it's something completely different. I mostly use a technique called unison, and I work with this technique, and this technique helps you to release your emotions without sticking with the memories, so your nervous system doesn't involve to the process, because when you understand your body chemistry, you can solve anything. And how I do that is simply, if you are lack of motivation, this means you started that project from a masculine perspective. So what does that mean? That means you believe that it is good for your career, it's good for this or that, but it didn't come with an inspiration. It was a rational decision. But what we expect, what we supposed to experience in this lifetime, as we are in the Aquarius age of Aquarius, and feminine energy is rising to be able to get balance with the masculine, projects has to start from our feminine side. So when you start something from the feminine, you don't need to motivate yourself, because inspiration is a flow. So this flow is not something that you can lose at a point, or you would need a motivation. So this is the difference between motivation and inspiration. And what I do during these sessions with the astrology reading, and then after the coaching, is simply understanding why this person is not either coming from the feminine side, or sometimes when when you start something from your feminine, but you still cannot proceed in your process, even though you want so badly, because masculine and feminine has to collaborate. And once they don't collaborate, once masculine doesn't serve the feminine, even though it starts from the feminine, you cannot continue to the project. So by understanding the message of your moon and your chart, I simply help you to understand how you can make these two to collaborate with each other.
Yeah, you were right. It is completely different. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was so helpful to me, what you just said. I love this masculine. I've dove so deep into the masculine feminine energy and understanding it, because I think that most of my life I honestly more lived in the masculine energy. I think I was almost conditioned, because it's survival mode of I need to do, and like this is what it is, and I finally feel like I'm getting in touch with that feminine energy of like, and I think what happened is this really is like very new for me. It just kind of started right before the holidays. And then I was just kind of like in January, just like being and like content with being. And then I was like, okay, Christina, gotta get it together now. Like, it's like this visual that I have now of like the two meeting each other. It's like you have to have the balance of the two. So that was super helpful.
I'm happy to hear that. And the most paradoxal thing is, once you are in that state, once you feel like, okay, those two are collaborating, then you don't even need to read the chart because you feel it in your bones. You just go through it. This is why in the beginning I told Murray that I don't plan things for myself with astrology that much. Of course, I use it, but not every day or every event that I'm hosting. I don't look for the chart because after a while, once you connect with your moon and Venus points, you start using your emotions and your sensations to navigate your life. You don't need the chart anymore. And I think as I'm an astrologer, I do that, but I love saying that every other thing besides then our emotions should serve us in a way and for a period of time, but then we need to learn how to do things without them because it's us. I cannot find or reach my phone all the time or my computer. There should be a way that I can do it by myself. And I love what you said, Christina. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. Any more questions?
Kevin, are you sure? I remember you had one question in the beginning.
I'll be honest and say that I do know that I forgot the specific question.
Okay.
But yeah, like to some degree, what you're talking about, I see some of the things actually returning into my general behavior pattern, and some of the things that I've done in the past as well. Because I come from a time where I basically had no emotions at all. I blocked them completely out because I'm an empath. Yeah. Some people I can still, when I'm in the same room, take in their emotions. So as a kid in a classroom with 30 other kids that have no control over their emotions, didn't work for me. So I had to block them out, and I did. I basically had a crash course for myself to relearn all of my emotions. But I've always followed, and since then, I've basically always followed my gut. Like I called it my gut instinct. Like there's certain moments in time where you just have this. I wouldn't even call it necessarily an emotion. It's not emotional. It's not logical, but it's a certain feeling that you get that like, okay. And it'll tell you whether or not it's good. Whether or not you should take certain actions. And I think like with the way you were explaining everything, it correlates.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see that even though the system is a little bit different, the correlation is just nice to see.
Yeah.
But Danny, I also wanted to say like, what you just said about us being in Aquarius, was it? Like where the femininity is in rise. Like to some degree, the community that I kind of want to build surrounds itself around, teaching men to be more in touch with their actual emotions.
Yeah.
Because I know my gender is notoriously bad at it. So things are slowly starting to connect everywhere.
Yeah, and as an empath, you will find your way to be right places at the right time.
Yeah.
And things will fall into places. Great.
Right now, it's a big mess of confusion.
Okay. Well, then you know how to get help.
Yep.
Thanks, Kevin. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Cool. So, Kubra, should we tell them about the upcoming event?
Oh, why not? Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So, the two of us are planning on doing an event February 27th, Thursday, at this same time. So 8:30 p.m. CET, 11:30 a.m. PST. And so that's when she's going to dive more into birth charts and all of that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to give you more of like my experience and the things that I overcame and did to create my book and the things like that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because you will be drawing your own chart. I will teach you how to do that, and I will teach you what your moon is telling you. And if you have kids or family or friends, I'm going to share a booklet so you can even look into their chart and tell them what their moon's message is in general, not just for authors. But in this event, we're going to be focusing on how you can benefit from it as an author or author to be, basically.
Yeah.